Breadbox Media programming is brought to you by...
Finding someone on an online Catholic dating site shouldn't be like shopping for a blender. So why do most dating sites leave you feeling like you're shopping for a spouse? At Catholic Singles, we connect members through our unique user polls and activities, which help you discover other members and their personalities and interests. Because you're a person, not a profile picture. So stop shopping and start discerning. Trust your love story to the original Catholic dating site and use the promo code BREADBOX at checkout for 20% off at CatholicSingles.com.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lisa, Hendey, and Friends. Today we have, in an exciting turn of fate, two new friends to the show to join us for a conversation, and so I'm really looking forward to sharing their work with you today. Joining us are Mary Rose and Ryan Verret, and the Verrets are the founders of Witness to Love and the authors of Witness to Love, How to Help the Next Generation Build Marriages That Survive and Thrive. Ryan and Mary Rose speak on issues regarding evangelization, marriage, natural family planning, miscarriage, and medical ethics. They reside in the heart of Cajun country with their 5 children, and their passion is teaching couples to share their marriage with others. Welcome to the show, Mary Rose and Ryan Verret.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's a real treat and really fun always to connect with new people and to learn about this great work that you're doing. And I think I'm going to try and bounce my questions back and forth just so that we don't avoid Ryan, because my tendency would be to ask Mary Rose all the questions. So Ryan, let me have you start out first of all by telling us how you as a couple got involved in this work that you're doing.
Definitely the Holy Spirit. I think both of us came from a background that Christ showed the way that he can redeem and make relationships new. Came from a background of where there was some messiness of divorce and grandparents and parents and siblings and kind of extended relatives. And I think when we met each other and meeting each other kind of within the church and surrounded by so many beautiful vocations, and when Christ kind of invited us to the sacrament of matrimony, I think it was clear for us that we wanted to do this in him and through him, and have God the Father is going to be a part of this. And so I think definitely this was a relationship and a marriage and a ministry that came out of Christ's ability to make all things new.
Beautiful. Mary Rose, I should have asked this question first, but how long have you guys been married, and what are the ages of the kids?
We've been married 11 years, and I think that the quarantine may have added a few extra years.
Oh.
And we have 5 kids. We have a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a almost 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh,
so,
my goodness.
Yes, the domestic church bells don't always ring like right when you think they should ring. So you never know.
3 was supposed to be napping during this recording, and they happen to be up right now. So,
well, bring them in. Let's let them be a part of the show. No, that's awesome. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? And I think actually that our conversation is really timely, because so many families are feeling, well, as you and I record, we're just at the end of May. This will probably launch a little bit later in June, but we're feeling the pinch of this, aren't we, Ryan? And it's really pointing to the need for our domestic churches to be strong. So I guess I want to ask you, how the book came about and where this fits into the overall ministry.
The book came about when leaving, Mary and I were serving kind of at the diocese with marriage prep, and we were oftentimes the coordinating couple of the conference. Mm-hmm. And giving the talks and organizing the other volunteer speakers. And as Archbishop Lori reminded us, and I remember him saying in Baltimore once we were doing a training, he said it's always a room that was too warm and the speakers were just okay, and the food was, just okay. And I was like, well, that was what it was like in the 50s, and it was for us as well. And I think when Mary Rose left her part-time work with the diocese, and we were voluntold to start working alongside this our pastor at the time, a young, awesome priest, who showed up at 8 o'clock at night with a bottle of wine, saying that he needed some help in marriage prep. He didn't like it anymore, and so the transition from going from the diocesan presentation and thinking that we can squeeze as much information in to get these young people back into the life of the church and their marriages on solid ground. We got to the parish level and realized they actually weren't there. No. That marriage prep has been one of those key failures. I hate to say it that way, but it's just kind of a key failure in many levels, primarily not having a significant difference with regard to the divorce rate of secular couples in the United States, and also just low mass attendance. And I think the book came out of a need to do a better job in those areas.
Really trying to reach couples where they're at, because, when we present from behind the podium, I think, we all kind of know, only so much evangelization can happen in a classroom setting with a podium. But when it comes to sort of forming couples to live their domestic church, they could do all of that without ever having set foot in a physical church, a domestic church. All marriage prep could happen in a classroom, or with couples or clergy that they don't know, they've never met, and they might not ever meet again. And so just, that in the long run wasn't playing out in a way where couples were going to church and staying married. The Catholic divorce rate, there's only a 2% difference from the national divorce rate at 5 years after the wedding day. So the national average is 25% divorce at 5 years after the wedding day, and the Catholic is 23%.
I really love, Mary Rose, that you're sharing these statistics, both because they're important for us to know, and also because it shows that this is sort of a data-driven and, a well thought out approach that you're taking. I want to ask you about the Be Light virtual date night series. Can you tell me a little bit more about this project and, what's involved and why it's so special and unique? Absolutely.
Well, I think that there's a lot of great marriage enrichment out there. There's a lot of great content. There's a lot of great resources. But the Be Light Date Night series was two things. One, it's something that we were putting together for all couples who've gone through Witness to Love, both mentors and newly married couples. But we saw kind of, just with the pandemic and the quarantine, and a lot of marriages were struggling. And Ryan always keeps saying that the quarantine was a relationship accelerator for people. So if you were going,
it was for us.
If you were going in the right direction, you could grow. But if there were some bumps in the road, you could really veer off course. And so we were trying to help take all that extra time that people were spending together, in the pressure cooker, and help really just have some good light come from that, and something that people could look back and say, wow, I'm so glad I did that. That changed the course of our marriage. And so we got together 5 diocesan family life directors and their spouses who really understood sort of this whole dynamic that we've been sharing about marriage prep, and why really a lot of it has to take place in people's homes, in the domestic church, and just that wouldn't judge people, that could speak to them where they were at. So we got these 5 directors and their spouses together. And we went through this process that in Witness to Love, this is really kind of what we have seen bear fruit, and the process of evangelization that has made the greatest difference in people's lives is where you start with helping people to understand belonging, then believing, then becoming, then beatitude, and then be light. And so it's really putting flesh on the bones of what we already knew was important for evangelization, but applying that to marriage formation. And it just the feedback and the responses that we've heard from people, it definitely saved some marriage, changed some lives. But it's in our app. It's a web app, and so people register through our website. It's witnesstolove.org. The Be Light date night is right on the home page. They click on it, they register, and they get to watch these 5 videos. They can do it 5 days, 5 weeks, however they want to do it at their own pace. And there's 3 discussion questions for each couple to discuss. And then there's 1 question for them to discuss in a small group if they're doing this with other couple friends, either in person or virtually.
So this doesn't necessarily, I'm just thinking we're talking right now, but these are recordings, and folks who might be listening to the podcast 6 months from now can actually go back and access this content. It's not going to be something that's going to go away, right?
Absolutely. Yes. So it can be accessed at any time. We're also very soon releasing by mid-June the Spanish Be Like Date Night series. And so very similar setup with registration, the 5 nights, the discussion questions, and it will be available at any point. But then also each month we'll be releasing like an additional date night moving forward for, at least the next 5 years while we go through the year of belonging, believing. So we're going to just move through this.
Beautiful. Brian, I want to ask you the question that I know some of my listeners are asking in their hearts and their minds. This is all really wonderful for couples like you guys that are so equally yoked in your faith and enthusiastic and coming into it, with this sense of shared mission. But how can we minister to families where maybe there's one person who's active in their faith and the other isn't? How can that person who really longs for this in their marriage, maybe gently approach their spouse with the idea to participate in something like this?
It's a great question. That's something that we pray through, and it's a kind of an area that comes up often. I think witness love is founded in the realization that the church has a great opportunity to present things in the faith and the gift of the sacraments in a catechumenate way. And witness love is a catechumenate approach to marriage formation. It's a catechumenate approach in a sense. It's very much like if you read Priscilla and Aquila, the early church of the necessity of modeling and witnessing marriage. So the way we felt kind of guided into this project and how this apostolate fits that particular need over time, very gradual, but the best way that couples, in particular one who is not maybe exactly on the same page as the other. And we've seen this. I give you an example. There's a couple that we know, and we knew them initially in church. And when we first met them 9 years ago, she was going to Mass by herself with her 2 sons. And we went over to the house a couple of times, and he wasn't going to Mass at that time. But then at some point she started doing more and getting to know other couples within the church, and he started sort of tagging along. At first he was real rough around the edges. And now it's amazing to see, though, just the other night we were with them and the children, and he is so gentle and kind now, and engaged. And all I know is that it didn't take a lot of information. It wasn't a lot of reading on his part. I think I had to do sometimes the pastor go and play basketball with him and some other guys, and then him just started seeing that this is a gift. His marriage was a gift, and you just see that there's a clarity in his eyes. I think that model of using relationships, very much the model of the incarnation, right? I remember Father Benedict Rochelle would say, rules without relationships lead to rebellion. But I think what we need is that there needs to be sort of a emphasis on virtuous relationships rooted in Christ that reflect a sort of the hospitality of like the prodigal son with the father, something that this is a place that you can come back to no matter what your story is. And that it's gonna be good, and it's to be an introduction to that good life. So I hope that answered your question, but I want to, because we see this over and over again, that the best way to evangelize is for them to see it, and in particular within marriage, for them to see marriages that are committed and that are bearing fruit in many ways.
I asked that question because in many ways, the story that you just told kind of resembles my love story with my husband. We met in college and were married in a Catholic wedding, but he wasn't Catholic at the time and didn't come into the church until about 17 years into our marriage. And I credit largely the Knights of Columbus and Catholic school dads at our parish for, first of all, praying intentionally for my husband, but then also just being so generous in their outreach to him. And it was never anything that was pressured or anything like that. It was just a friendship. And then, that leads to a community and a brotherhood. And I know they all rejoiced, when he came into the church. So it's been a great blessing. But my heart is always sensitive to that. Mary Rose, and oftentimes I don't want to generalize here, but oftentimes it's the woman who desires something like this for marriage and has to kind of convince her husband to participate. But I guess maybe could you offer some thoughts on how to just kind of gently start that conversation if you want this, regardless of where you are in your faith journey, if you're the husband or the wife, if you want to do something like this, how should you bring it to your marriage conversation?
I think the date night is really, definitely it's fun. It's really speaks to the average couple. And I do know that there were many couples who went through it where like the wife or the husband signed them up. And you're right. I mean, I would say often it was the wife who signed them up for the date night and, said, hey, I've signed us up for this. Maybe could we go through it with another couple friend? And so I think a great way to sort of do a lead and say, hey, I was thinking we could do this date night with a few of our friends, just something to talk about and to share. So, maybe we could do this together. And so I think sometimes doing it with other couples that are friends is going to make it more accessible, tangible, and attractive especially to guys. So I think, again, there's no point where like there's this forced deep share with other couples. It's the questions for the group, conversation are not that you can go as deep as you want, I guess is to say. Mm-hmm. So, we have one couple that signed up, the wife signed up, and they were separated and they were, planning to finish the divorce paperwork. And the wife just, during the quarantine, they were stuck together. And the wife said, well, I signed us up for this. I thought it couldn't hurt. And they are now back together working on their relationship. And a couple from a neighboring parish that went through the date night series is mentoring them.
Oh, that's so beautiful. What a great story. Well, I could talk to you guys all day, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. Ryan, I do want to ask you to kind of walk everybody through kind of specifically what the nights look like and, logistically how it works. And then also kind of just to let us know if there's anything else that we haven't talked about that we should know about the Be Light or Witness to Love.
Well, the domestic church bells were ringing, and Ryan went to grab the ringing bell. So
there you go.
But I can definitely walk you through. Yeah. He is on his way back. Here he is back. So
I love this, and be affirmed in the call to the fact that he went to go take care of whatever it was. It's awesome.
Sort of like boxing,
tag team wrestling. So Ryan, I was just asking kind of what it looks like when somebody signs up with this, like how logistically it looks, and then what else we need to know about Witness to Love.
When we went through a phase always trying to make this as simple as possible, and we at the same time we also were keen on the idea that we don't want to just provide something that just seems like another Catholic thing to be consumed. And so when people come into this into the app, it's very simple. It's free. It's easy to share, and they just kind of click on the link and register. And hopefully, more parishes, which we've seen, all over the U.S. and other nations now, is that you can just easily do this and serve. A parish can coordinate this, or a diocese, and people can plug in. But I think in addition to that, so like what you know about Witness to Love is, I think this Be Light Date Night series is the fruit of our desire to create and present a mystagogy of the sacrament of matrimony. I think, as I said earlier, we live in a catechumenate age of the faith. Not everybody is going to be a classically Catholic trained couple and just hanging around the church all the time and having priest over for nice conversations. But I think that this is such a great opportunity for the church at this moment, where many churches have been closed, and to distinguish itself. And I think as a priest, to early on when Witness to Love was sort of coming together, he said, the church really needs to be, or the homes need to be, a missionary outpost of the local parish. Mm-hmm. And so the service of Witness to Love is helping homes to see themselves and couples as evangelizing spouses, as Pope Francis says, and to be a place that will, continue to bring light and the gospel and live the gospel in a way that will hopefully, God willing, bring people back into the sacramental life of the church and the parish, so that we can not just keep buildings open, but we can be thriving in mission and renewing communities.
I love that. I think that, our hearts are longing to go back to church. Some people have. I will be away for a while because out here in California, things are a bit different. But I love that we're recognizing the need for church to not just be that 1 hour on Sunday, but to be all week long, and especially in our hearts and our homes. Mary Rose, where is the best place for people to come if they want more information? How can they get in touch with you guys?
They can go to witnesstolove.org. The Be Light Date Night series is right there on the homepage. And, we have free resources for parishes. If you want to bring Witness to Love to your parish, what does that look like? And definitely a lot of resources for marriage prep, a lot of couples who are getting engaged and getting married right now and are, stuck with, not being, they can't go to a conference. So we have resources for them to do marriage prep virtually, but still with a couple whose marriage they admire and they want to be like. So, everything's there at witnesstolove.org.
Definitely. So grateful to both of you for this beautiful work that you're doing, and just so excited to watch what you're doing and to see it grow. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's episode of Lisa Hendey and Friends. We are going to have all the show notes and links for you to get in touch with Brian and Mary Rose Verret and this beautiful work being done at witnesstolove.org. Just head over to my website, lisahendey.com, for this week's show notes, as well as information on all of our previous guests and my contact information too. And if this podcast has been a blessing to you, I hope that you'll pass it along to a friend, especially when we're talking about the gift of marriage in our church, that this is something that really can bless and uplift so many people. So I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll see you next time. God bless.
Looking for exceptional coffee delivered fresh to your door? We have the answer. Our friends at Grim Bean Coffee produce small batch artisan coffee using top-tier coffee beans. The coffee is roasted when you order, guaranteeing the freshest coffee possible. Check out Breadbox Roasts, a new line of Catholic-themed coffees available at www.grimbeancoffee.com/Breadbox Media. Experience coffee like never before.